Good afternoon, viewers. Welcome to Nigeria Now on Echo Television, where we keep you updated with the happenings in Nigeria. I am Seda Elisha Dasham. I'll be doing the program alongside Rachel Tanzi. Good afternoon, Rachel.
Good afternoon,
How are you
Seda.
doing?
I'm fine. How about you?
I'm great. Thank you so much. And to our viewers, remember you can join us live on Facebook and on YouTube. Drop your comment on any of the views or any of the story we will be looking at, because we'd love to view some of your comment and see how we can actually help Nigeria. We have quite a number on our plate this afternoon, looking at the Ekiti students and the teachers that have regained their freedom, going down to the national Greek collapse that happened, and then also we will try to take a look at the World Cancer Day and then looking at the number of people. But before we go into that, I mean, we got to realize that there was a protest in Niger State following the hardship, talking about cost of living, foodstuff and all of that. And Rachel, you remember we talked about that, I think, where we saw from last week where the Minister of Information was telling Nigerians to please be patient with the policy. And then also we're seeing where the former vice president is also tackling the present administration, some of the policy being set by the Tinubu administration. And here we're seeing that, I mean, the residents of Niger State can no longer take the pain, and so they took it to the street around this Niger-Mina road, and then they actually blocked it as of 7 a.m. this morning. So it's kind of a little protest trying to show their grievances with the issues that are happening. Rachel, you will agree with me, the cost of living in Nigeria right now, it seems as if it's only the strong that can actually withhold it, because we're having a number of issues that are happening in the country. You just can't help but to wonder who can survive it. But we hope that the government have the best interests of Nigerians at heart. They'll look into the issue of inflation. I mean, your program earlier, we were talking about the free fall of the Naira and then how it has affected goods, services, and everything eventually. So, I mean, I could really relate with the residents of Nigeria, and I believe everybody in Nigeria is going through the same thing as well when you're talking about hardship in Nigeria presently.
You know, Stella, for a while now, we've been having an anti-protest government where people can take to the street unarmed and just voice out their grievances concerning what is happening. The government always finds a way of attacking them. I just hope that the government of Nigeria will be more matured and just listen to the citizens, because it doesn't make sense that we're being asked to have patience, and we are having the patience because we don't have an option than to have the patience. This is the administration that it's our administration now. Come day, come night, the Tinubu's administration is not going anywhere until it elapses its term. However, we need to see a government that is also willing to make the sacrifices we are, and they are not. They are not making those sacrifices, and then that is, I believe, the place where Nigerians are having it to its full, because we are not seeing them making the sacrifice. We can talk about the president going on a private visit, not official work, all under the expense of the Nigerian government. And here we are, you know, we will say, okay, if France haven't made their country safe for you to go, would you have a place to go to? And yet we are having pupils being abducted, having to go through things that children shouldn't witness and all of that. And then you wonder how long, in a time where they ask us to get bicycles because of subsidy removal, they are buying SUVs that will cost over 160 million bulletproof. You're not fixing the security, you're not fixing the fuel subsidy, you're not fixing any of the problem. You are just making your life better. So when Nigerians keep seeing things like that, you can't help but want to tell the government that you're not happy. And I won't sit down and say we should all go to the road and protest, but I hope that our voices get to be heard. Let the people of Nigeria be heard, and every other Nigerian, because what they are lamenting is not just for those in Niger State, it's for every Nigerian. The subsidy is everywhere. The insecurity is everywhere. Everything is just everywhere, and nobody, there's no longer middle class in the country, to be honest. You're either poor or rich, and the rich are getting richer by the day, and then the poor, the numbers are just increasing. We keep seeing statistics saying by the end of 2024, 9 more million Nigerians will join into the poverty index and all of that. So it's really sad.
Well, Rachel, sometimes when you talk about issues like this, I mean, you get emotional and then you tend to even forget yourself and then you start ranting. But we hope that the government, just like you said, that the cry of Nigerians will get to the right ears, because it's one thing to cry, it's another thing for the right people to actually listen to you and do something about it. Now, still talking about Hashi, we're seeing that the pupils and also the teachers of Ekiti State, we will record that they were being kidnapped, and then quite a number of ransom, about 100 million was being demanded, and then we're seeing that the parents actually happy. I mean, they have actually gotten their words back, and then presently they are going through trauma treatment and all of that. But beyond them regaining their freedom and going through trauma treatment, this is a call for security, because it seems it's an epidemic that's actually going on that Nigerians cannot just wrap their head. Are we going to talk about the intelligence that we are feeding? Are we going to talk about our security agency? Possibly it seems as if they are not really doing what they are supposed to do, or is it that they are neglecting their responsibility? It's just something you cannot wrap your head. We're seeing civil defense are recruiting, where they're having over 400 like say agents that will be around vulnerable schools. And then you ask, I mean, is there any school in Nigeria presently, if are not just schools, is there any place in Nigeria right now that is not, will I say, a sport right now for people to be kidnapped? We've heard where even in public transport people are being kidnapped. Yes. We've heard even people in their homes, while you're just sitting at home, you'll be picked by somebody you really have no idea about. And you ask, what is the government doing about it? What are security agencies doing about it? Of course, we will say that there have been a number of progress being recorded, I mean success, by our security agency, but then we cannot help but ask for more. At this point in time, we are more like the Oliver Twist saying we want more, because we need more coming from our security agency. I just cannot imagine what these people had to go through, because even got to know that their driver was being killed and burned right before them. So you can imagine what this can do to these students and also the teachers there. But then I'm happy, I mean, and another thing that, I mean, got to my mind is the fact that, even though I know I've been talking about this, but I can't help but talk about it again, is the fact that we're actually letting other people to cash out. Talking about the fact that these terrorists are cashing out big time. Yeah. If you see the list of things they gave, milk, tramadol, spaghetti, right, and you just can't, they have a list to tell you what you're supposed to bring. If you don't bring this thing, and then these people are heartless, they can just do away. We remember that of the Abuja, where we saw those 6 sisters that were being kidnapped. We saw the former Minister of Communication saying the fact that, you know what, we're not encouraging paying ransom, but the way things are moving in Nigeria, a lot of people cannot help but pay ransom. Why? Because life is more important than money to a lot of people, and that is why people have resolved to, you know what, let's just pay this ransom. As far as our words will come back safe and alive, I think that's all that matters eventually.
It's really sad that the parents have to come to paying 15 million naira. And imagine the kind of negotiation that kept on going on, and there's just a criminal. And when we talk about asking the government to do more, so that the more I need from the government as it is now, and every Nigerian is not rescuing kidnapped victims, is being 10 steps ahead of these kidnappers and making sure they are not being kidnapped. Nobody gets kidnapped. Crime in this country has a very specific pattern, be it Boko Haram terrorism or be it now the reign of kidnappers. First of all, it starts with an agenda that moves into one thing or another. And this is where I keep hammering the point that the Nigerian government cannot tell me they don't have the information, the resources, and the intelligence to be ahead of these people, because you can tell. It's late now that we are seeing it, but they have what it takes to see it before now. When terrorism started in this country, Boko Haram precisely, we were having suicide bombers left, right, center. Then we started having schoolgirls being abducted. You understand? They were targeted. We were looking at schoolgirls, young teenagers, some below such ages, and then they were being abducted. Now, when kidnapping started in Nigeria, it's mostly just individuals or on the road. That was the same way terrorism started. A lot of people on their way to far north states, to Maiduguri, were killed and all of that. The roads were unsafe. People were kidnapped, people were killed, and all of that, abducted, and that was how the pattern was. And we are seeing the same thing for kidnapping, because it started on the road. Then it now moved to houses. And then now we are seeing it get into our schools. A larger number of people knowing that, you know what, they won't be disposable. We can use them to get certain things. Because that was the same way when it came to abduction of the Chibok girls and then the Dapchi girls. And now we are seeing now coming to our schools. Are we trying to honestly sit down there and say we don't have security personnel that could have sat down and predicted that, you know what, this kidnapping could lead to this level?
Maybe they underestimated them.
Exactly, and this keeps proving the fact that we are not putting 100% in the jobs we do in this country. And that is why it looks like the things that we are supposed to be above are above us. And it's really the sad part completely, because we cannot stop overemphasizing that we need more from the government. I can't go and rescue those girls. Nobody can. Apart from you don't have the arms. I don't have the resources. I don't have the information. I don't have the skills. I'm not trained whatsoever. That is why we need our government out there. And whether we like it or not, the picture, the fingers keep pointing at them. This is a situation where your personal security cannot help you, in the sense that your knowledge about security, because this is not the look left or right before you cross the road that we tell children. It's not the don't talk to a stranger when going back to school. Don't collect. It's not that. When you look at it, how can a pupil protect themselves? How can school students protect themselves from certain things? It just shows you that these are the kinds of things that if the government fails you, they fail you. There's no knowledge of yours. There's no knowledge a child, there's no knowledge a teacher can have or an adult can have if you come to a place that should be safe and you were taken. So it tells you that these are clearly things that if it's not the government, it's nobody else. There's nothing you can do about it. And that is why, whether we like it or not, it's still down to the government to secure lives and property. You keep saying it. And so far, so good. By this yardstick, we've had government and administration that have failed us for a very long period of time in the country. And I'm looking forward to when they will stop failing us and start doing their job and doing the needful.
You know, Richard, you already mentioned the fact that it seems the government has underestimated these terrorists, and that is why they are having a swelling. In fact, we have made the environment so favorable for them,
Yes.
and that is why they can do whatever they're doing. Because believe me, if only the environment is not favorable for them, they will not thrive in this business. Because
Yes.
promise me, Rachel, this is a business to them, because they are cashing out real time. And so I think this is more like a tactic. You took us back time memorial from when it started, where we saw the attention was in the schools, and then gradually they shifted to going to homes to pick people, and then we see killing people in the entire community, coming to villages when people are not prepared, and then killing them, and they're on the road and all of that. Now, by now, the government is supposed, just like you said, be 10 steps ahead of them. If you have seen that the moment that your attention is on the road, they shift to the schools. The moment your attention is on the school, they shift to the railway. We saw that happened.
Yes.
The moment you have to be in a position whereby you divide your attention everywhere. You
Yes.
have to just have a foresight, or if there's anything more than
Exactly.
that,
Yes.
to have a 6, 7, 8, even 10 cents, so that you begin to think, okay, these people are here. Where next do you think they will be?
Yeah.
And then you have information everywhere. I think with that, we'll be able to record success in a great way, because, Richard, I've not heard of any terrorist that was hanged and it was on national TV.
Not yet.
If
We're
we do,
supposed
I
to
think
see
maybe the
that.
government need to start that. When you hang one on national TV and everybody, because believe you me, they watch the TV. I think that will
Of
serve
course.
as a serious warning to anybody that's doing on that, because they're not. We said it here. The only powerful Nigeria we should have is the president, but we keep hearing they are being backed by some power, and you ask, who are those some? Is there anybody that is above the law in Nigeria? I don't believe that. So we hope to see more proactive, just like you say, it's not about a rescue mission. We don't want a rescue mission,
Yeah.
because believe you me, it will take more than just this trauma treatment these students are going
Yes.
through. We're still having those from the Chibok and the after that till date. I'm going to talk about even the Baptist boys in Kaduna.
Yeah.
Today, some of them are not back. Go down to Yobe. We've seen a number of schools that have been shut down according to UNICEF. Why? Because either for insecurity or something. So we hope the government will do something in relation to that. Now, we made mention of the fact that we have more we want from the government, Rachel. There was the first national grid collapse again this year, where we saw that it wasn't just houses, it wasn't just businesses. We also saw that even the aviation system was being affected.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, as of 2nd of February, where it happened, about 2 to 3 minutes, there was no light in the Murtala Mohammed. And then a lot of people were surprised. Should that happen? Of course, it shouldn't happen.
Yeah, it
But
shouldn't.
what is the government doing about this? Last year, we were talking about where we had our multinationals leaving the shores of Nigeria because of issues such as this. Because you cannot expect a company or a business to thrive where there's no power. How much do we buy diesel? How much are you buying the petrol? So for businesses such as small-scale enterprises that are just starting up, all of these startup businesses, how do you want them to thrive? I mean, yesterday I was just going through the social media, and then it was funny, but then it was a serious case where somebody was saying that by tomorrow morning his customers will hang him because he's not done with their work. Why? Because there was no power for you to finish whatever. And so your questions would be, what is happening? We're seeing that it went down to about 59.5 megawatts. And then you keep asking, at a time where there was a time where we have some of our power plants idle. And then here we're seeing that it keeps going down.
Yes.
So I just cannot help, Rachel. If we are having this grid collapse, haven't we traced what the real problem is to tackle it? Why do we keep going back and forth, back and forth? And they are telling Nigerians that maybe you even remove the subsidy for electricity. Why should I pay for something that I'm not even enjoying the services in the
Yes.
first place? These are questions coming from Nigerians regarding the issue of power in the country.
One of the major reasons we had our multinationals folding up and going was power supply. It's not even as bad as subsidy removal. It was power supply was the constant in the reason every business going down was saying. And then of course the instability of the exchange, getting value for the currencies and all of that. But power supply was one for every company shutting down and closing down. And if you were to go and ask any small business owner that is no longer running a business that needed electricity, you would know that power was the reason behind it. And Stella, you asked the question, is it that they don't know what to fix or what to change? They know. We recently saw a probe where ex-power minister is being probed for billions of dollars that was given for the Mambila power plant. And the Mambila power plant was not done, and the money is nowhere to be found. And we saw the president at his the president that he was under his administration, Obasanjo, cleaning his hand out of it, saying he didn't know about it because who gave him the authorization to sign such a huge contract. So what does that mean? That we are having gridlock because grid collapse because of corruption. Imagine if the Mambila power plant was working, fully functional, and there was no 3.7 or 3.9 billion thereabout in dollars missing for a contract awarded for power. Now imagine the many contracts in the past that have been awarded to fix one grid over another or over the period of time, and nothing was being done about it. Because whether we like it or not, these are machines, these are equipment, these are gadgets. They need maintenance, they need renewal. It's not news, but definitely these are grids that have been there ever since we started having power in this country. And you can imagine how old they are. And someone has been sitting down on the money that perhaps was put in place to change certain things. And that is why we are seeing what we are seeing as it is now. It's not that nobody knows what the problem is. For it to collapse, it means it's old. It means it needs maintenance. It means it needs changing. It means it needs fixing. It's obvious. But then, what has been done in the past? Because I honestly don't believe there's no sector. I keep saying it, there's no sector that don't get money. It might not be much, but either way, you've been getting money. Now, what makes the difference is who have been diligent, consistently putting in that money as it's supposed to be into that sector, and then we would have been able to see some significant amount of growth. But that's not what has been happening. And that is why we are where we are. And until we agree and tell ourselves the truth that, you know what, corruption is the number one thing eating us up. In security, there's corruption. In education, there's corruption. In health, there's corruption. You understand? And we will see how corruption is in our health sector. There is corruption because we are starting to have medical doctors complaining that the CMDs are delaying payment. I mean, it's corruption. If the money is there, why are you delaying it? If it's not there, why are you not raising a cry? It's corruption left, right, center. So everybody knows the problem. A common man knows the problem. It needs to be fixed. Fix it. The question is, where is the money? Where have all the money that has been given gone to? Where have it? Where is it going to? Exactly, Sele. So let's tell ourselves the truth and just face it as it is.
You know, Richard, I mean, we've had administration after administration disbursing money for one thing or the other. And you made mention of the fact that we are going to go back to even during the Obasanjo regime, where we are having a power minister during that time being given money to actually fix a power plant, and you refuse to fix it. So we can only imagine how many power ministers have come up with flimsy excuses why they have failed to do one thing or the other. We had a power minister that came out and said there was no water. And I asked, with the flood we've been having, shouldn't have been a good time for you to be able to store your dams, make sure that the dams are well filled, so that when time like dry season like this come, we'll be able to have water for whatever needed. But then we keep having, it seems as if we keep having ministers that are not knowledgeable about the ministry, or you just cannot help. Maybe we need to go back to the portfolios of some of those people running various ministries. Because I really think, Rachel, that people need to be given work based on what they actually study, or based on what they're good with and familiar with. Because you cannot imagine giving, maybe, for example, giving maybe a lawyer to be able to run an agri ministry, or you be able to give an accountant to be able to, you just, I mean, these are just like mispriorities. I mean, we just don't give people the right thing, and then you look at certain portfolio and you wonder, can this person run this ministry at all? And that is why we keep having ministries failing one after the other. Why? Because they don't even know what to do with the position given to them. So I believe that, just like you made mention, if it's fixing that is a problem, we should fix it. Because our refineries are not even functioning. So when you begin to sit down and to think about the problems that we have in the country, you just can't help but maybe put your hand on your head and wonder, when will this government wake up and realize that, you know what, there's work to be done. If you don't fix it, just like we rightly mentioned, the number of people who are getting poor in this country is increasing day in, day out. A lot of businesses have shut down because they can no longer continue with business. You can't pay workers. Number of unemployment is increasing. That is to say, if people are not working, crime will increase eventually. So I just hope the government will look at it from this point of view and then do something about it. Now, let's try to look at, I mean, we are celebrating the World Cancer Day today, where we're saying there is a need to raise an awareness on what cancer is, how it comes up, various types of cancer, what to eat, certain meals that actually trigger certain things, and all of that. And we're seeing the World Health Organization say that as of 2022, over 500,000 Nigerians, Africans have died. And you can't help but wonder, what really is the problem? Is it that we don't know what cancer is? Is it that awareness has not been raised? Of course, I know a number of people will not go for checkups such as that. I mean, until you start feeling certain, for example, if they tell you it's a breast cancer, when you start feeling on familiar lumps on your breast, that's when it's okay, I need to go check up. Or you begin to feel maybe something is wrong and all of that. Or you begin to see that maybe you don't really usually urinate as you should be. Maybe something's wrong with my kidney and all of that. And these are certain checkups we need to be doing. Now, you rightly mentioned, I mean, we are having resident doctors complain that even the allowance that is supposed to be given to us, as little as 25,000 naira, it's not even coming quarterly as it should be. And we're still having this same CMD saying the fact that, you know what, over 500 workers actually left the country in 2 years. And you just can't help but wonder, in a time where we are looking at cancer and we need more hands in the hospital, and we're seeing that some of our national hospitals, we don't even have medical workers. So what is happening? I think last week or so, we saw the issue of the Obafemi Awolowo, where we saw people were being relieved of their duties. Why? Because illegal employment, all of that. So, Rachel, there's just so much going on in the health sector that you just want to wrap your head and you wonder what really is going on. When are we going to wake up to realize that this is a sector that we shouldn't play with whatsoever? Because you're talking about people's lives. And if you don't do something about it, we're seeing also the ministers coming out to complain that the ratio for patients to doctors, even getting worse by the day. I mean, there was a time that we saw that it was about 6,000 patients to a doctor, but right now, Rachel, I'm sure there's over 10,000 to a doctor, and these doctors are tired.
They are.
So you just, when you just start talking about the health sector, Rachel, there's no end to the issues that are coming up from this sector.
You know, majority of the health practitioners we have are general physicians and all of that, anatomy and all of that. But when it comes to specialty, it's few. And when we talk about cancer, we're looking at having oncologists. And imagine the few we have living, because I know that there will be specialists living. And what bothers me is that there is information gap in the country when it comes to health and also access. Information gap in the sense that a lot of people don't know information. So there are things that people could have avoided. We've talked about diabetes here. People don't know that, I mean, it wasn't long ago it became that expensive, and it's not even more than 500 for you to check your sugar level weekly or monthly. Don't even leave it that long, early in the morning before you have any meal. And a lot of time people don't even know that it's that easy for you to just check it and just know, and you move. What about blood pressure, high BP, low BP? Just enter your pharmacy, understand, and check all of these things. What about hepatitis? You go, you do your test. If you're negative, you take your vaccines that run for a period of 3 months, and when you're done, it lasts you 10 years. You understand? We have a lot of gap when it comes to health information, and I believe that a lot of people wouldn't have been struggling with what they are struggling now if only the information got to them
made
on
available.
time. And of course, you and I are not experts, but one little thing I know about cancer is that early detection is what saves life.
Exactly.
The earlier you can go. Now, it is deeper. For example, if you're still at childbearing age as women, for example, you can go for a mammogram. If you can go for screening. Mammogram is more intense, that it even predicts, it's kind of futuristic. It predicts any unfamiliar activity. It doesn't have to wait for it. Once you see an activity that looks like, you know what, this activity happening on your breast could lead to strange bodies that's forming cells and all of that. That's how. But because of the radioactivity or the radio harm that can come to it, if you're still at childbearing age, you need to breastfeed and all of that, is expected of you not to have that. But once you are past that age from 40 and above, you're expected to go. But then for us, you know, younger women that you are still within childbearing age, you should go for screening. You should go for checkup. You should try to go and check. The doctors will check anything. The scan will go, will see if there's any abnormality. There will be other physical tests and all of that. It's not that invasive, but you should be able to. And one thing I know also, I know I'm not a doctor, but I know this is very accurate concerning cancer, is that it feeds on sugar. So what does that mean? Cut down your sugar consumption.
When we mean sugar, I mean everything, carbohydrate,
Exactly.
carbonated drinks,
Everything
and all of that. So
that
not like the raw
end,
sugar. Yeah.
Exactly, not like the raw sugar. Anything that the end result in your body is sugar. That is, you should watch what you eat. Watch your diet. Exercise, drink a lot of water. Just make sure that you don't have what cancer will eat on, will feed on in your body. Don't feed it. I think that that's one limited knowledge I know, but I know I'm not wrong concerning this knowledge. Cut your sugar consumption. So when you're being asked to cut down sugar, it's not so that you will not grow fat. We always feel it's about slimming. We always feel, no, it's because there are things in your body that can feed on that.
Too much of everything eventually.
It's not good. Exactly. It's not about losing weight. It's because there is something called cancer that will feed on it. It's because there are other sicknesses that comes as a result of sugar in our body. So let's take some of this advice seriously. And it's World Cancer Day. Try to find the information you need to know. It's also hereditary. You should know your background. You should know your genes. You should know all of that also. And what is that kind of cancer that you've seen in your family? You can prevent it earlier for yourself because you've been able to know your background.
You know, Rachel, so quite a lot. I mean, if you have somebody who loves bread, love rice. I mean, you know,
bread.
in Africa, I think the reason why the number is is high is because we consume more of carbohydrate here. If you notice, most of our meals, talking about rice, yam, and all of that. Funny enough, even some of the proteins, if there's no energy, they tend to convert back to glucose. Just like we said, we're not expert, but just the little knowledge we have can actually, and it's funny enough whereby your brain also need the sugar and then your system does not need the sugar, so you need to know where you need to put the balance. And so just like you said, I think the right thing to do is to once in a while we visit the hospital to just check and know. I mean, this is not just for ladies, just like you mentioned childbearing age, but this is for everybody, because we also have male that have breast cancer as well. And this is not just for breast cancer. We have lungs, we have skin, lips, throat, quite a number. For some of those cancers that are coming up, you just cannot help to wonder how. And it doesn't even have an age limit. We have even kids that are having blood cancer and all of that. So we just hope that we look into that. Just like you said, it's hereditary. So we need to really look into making sure that we do what? We take good care of ourselves. Because believe me, nobody can take care of you better than you can take care of yourself. But Rachel, thank you so much.
You're welcome, Sally.
And thank you to our viewers and supporters for keeping a date with us on Nigerian Now. Until we come tomorrow, do have a blessed day ahead.